Bonada, I'm Gareth Jordan, DC Gareth Jordan of the Powys Cybercrime Unit. The man hiding in the corner there is Paul Callard, who's from the Financial Crime Team. He's not very backward in coming forward normally, so don't worry, he will actually come along soon. Thanks for coming along today. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to also talk to you today. It's an area whereby, can everyone hear me okay, first of all? That's the first thing I want to make sure of, yeah? Okay, great. Cybercrime, massive area within all of our lives, whether or not you are online or not. That might sound a really strange thing. However, it does affect everybody. And so therefore what we're finding within Dyfed Powys is that we've set up a specific unit just to deal with the whole area within cybercrime. Who here is on Facebook? So a show of hands. A bit of audience participation because you're getting a bit sort of like restless. You're going to stand up if you want, I don't mind as well, okay? Who's on Twitter? Who's on Instagram? Who's on Plenty of Fish? Who's on Tinder? Who's looking for love out there? Yeah? Yeah? There's loads and loads of stuff out there that is beneficial to any age group. That's what you've got to start looking at. It's not just young people. They don't own the internet. Yeah? If you look at it, more than likely you guys have got more time to actually spend on the internet and to spend online than other people. And spending is the other part of it. Spending money, using online services. From that, you will get massive benefits. And I'm a great believer in the internet. I love the internet. I love anything technical, gadgety, all that sort of stuff. I joined the police only about 10 years ago. Before that, I was in IT and I just love gadgets. However, gadgets don't actually do us any damage. The only damage really comes from the people behind those who are trying to get stuff off us. So therefore, when we're doing things online, all we really need to do, and this is really simple stuff, yeah, people say to me, Gareth, what's the best antivirus? What would stop me getting a virus on my computer? Is it McAfee? Is it AVG? Is it Panda? Is it Norton, Symantec, whatever it's going to be? What, does anyone here know what the best antivirus is? Yourself, yeah. Look in the mirror, that's the best antivirus. Don't click on the button if you don't need to. Don't take your clothes off in front of the camera on your computer if you don't need to. Yes? Maybe we're going to get to the stage where NHS, Wales, Helver, start to ask us for consultations with doctors, and we are going to need to get undressed in front of it. However, make sure it is a secure connection and they are the right people asking those questions. Where does most of the crime come from when people are asking us those sorts of questions? When we're, the standards we're getting nowadays, people come to our doors and they're asking to tarmac our drives, they're going to be locals. When we get someone coming online to us, are they going to be our next door neighbours? Are they going to be within Wales normally? No. They're going to be within countries that really we can't reach out to, but it's worth their while to take the time to communicate with you. They will build up communications and they will make themselves sound really good, really interesting, very nice people. They will become your friends. They will befriend people on Facebook. The farming community is one of the areas where we're really having a struggle with at the moment, where people are quite lonely, get onto Facebook, they make friends, and from that, those friendships, they become very close to them. We have people staying there from France, and that they like the profile of this farmer. The next stage is that they start sending each other a lot more, let's call it, personal photos. Eventually, they'll get to a stage where they will be getting to do something on the camera which they would never do in front of anybody else. At that stage, the screen will go blank. They will then be told, we know who you are, we know your friends, we know your family, we know all your business colleagues, we know the people you trade with. We are now going to put this video we've taken of you on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and we will tell all your friends exactly what you've done unless you pay us money. The way to stop that is to talk to people you do trust. If you don't know the person at the other end, think, how do you get to know people? How do you know people really? You've got to look at it and say, okay, where's this person from? Ask them, what's the weather like with you? If you're from France, what is the weather like? They can tell you what the weather's like. You can look it up online and say, okay, yeah, it is going to be cloudy there. If you're talking to someone in Nigeria, they're mostly not going to be ready for those sorts of questions. Think outside the box a little bit. When they're actually asking you these questions on the phone, and they phone you up and say, hi there, we'd like to give you this, that and the other, ask them some questions about what the weather is, what the time is, where they're based, what their address is at that time. Those are the sorts of things to really question them. But again, for me, if I get a phone call, if I don't know them, put the phone down. You don't owe anybody anything for that. If the bank, or they pretend to be the bank, they phone you up. How many people had the bank say, oh, hello there, we'd like to talk to you about your account? I've had the bank actually phone me, and the next thing they ask me is some personal details or some questions about me. And I'd say, well, who are you then? And they go, well, we're the bank. I say, well, I don't know you, so I've just put the phone down. If it's that important, they will make proper contact with you. The other thing to bear in mind, big time nowadays, is email fraud with solicitors. If you're coming to a stage where you might be moving property, really bear this in mind. This is a personal account, okay, of my mother-in-law moving from a house to a bungalow in the last 3 weeks. We've lent her some money and she's come into some other money, and so therefore she's able to actually sort of go to this new house. We talked to the solicitor, got everything ready, and arranged that on the Monday we would then be going to Santander, getting the banker's draft and going through everything with them. My wife emailed the solicitor on the Friday just to say, is everything still in order? And this reputable solicitor in Carmarthenshire, about 5 minutes later, that's great, here's our bank account details. So, bank account details have been sent to my wife. She thinks that's a bit strange. It was a little bit sharp, but phoned me up anyway. And then next minute, she got another email from the solicitor saying, that's great, see you Monday. So I've looked at the actual email, and you can see from the email headers what's actually hidden within there. We can actually see that. I can show that with you. Anyone who wants to come to the stand later on, I can go through loads of different things. I can bore you to death with things like that, okay? However, look at the email headers. It showed me that that email had actually come from, well, it actually came from South Africa, but it came via China. That's how it came from. So how does a solicitor in Ammerford suddenly get hijacked that way? So I phoned the solicitor and said, I think you might have a problem here. And I think that your email server has been hijacked. What do you think that solicitor said to me? Oh no, not again. Okay, so we're talking here about a very, very reputable law firm who has been done once and it's now happened again. What's happened is that basically someone has put a virus onto that computer, or someone's loaded something onto it. Every email they get and every email they send duplicates itself and goes to the actual criminal. When it gets to the stage where there's going to be money exchanging, that criminal interjects and says, here's the bank account details, and gives a false bank account details, not the solicitor's bank account details. So I said, well, you know what? I then introduced who I actually was and what my job was within Dyfed Powys Police, and said that maybe that they should not be doing any more emails at this stage until they get that sorted out. I then went through and said, well, why did you not actually, if you've been done before, why didn't you warn us about that when we actually came to you? Because I know it's a scam, I know it's ongoing. That's why I always said to my wife, well, we'd never do anything through email on that. And he said, well, actually, it's on the front of our literature. It's on the front of everything we do. And I said, no, it's not, because I checked that before. And he looked at it and says, oh, no, on your one, it's not. Unlucky me, eh? So then I said, well, look, if there's anybody else happens to be exchanging this week, next week, can you get that word out to them that this thing is happening? And then the first thing he said to me was, I'll email them straight away. Okay, so we're not just dealing with people who are dim. Yeah, you've got solicitors here who are very, very intelligent people. However, it didn't matter to him that much because he wasn't losing the money. I would have lost the money. My mother-in-law would have lost the money. I phoned up the IT company, and I had a similar sort of experience. They didn't really want to know that much about it. They started saying, oh, my wife's got a dodgy password. I said, well, actually, she's actually got a 16-digit password that she uses. Oh, what is she on? Gmail. Oh, well, Gmail's always getting hacked. Well, no, Gmail isn't always getting hacked. I then introduced myself to him again as who I was, and we're working together to an outcome on that. But it's just to say, being careful. You know, none of you in this room look dim, okay? That's the first thing, yeah? However, looks can be deceptive, yeah? That's another thing. But also, what you've got to think of is that if you don't think it's right, it's not. ABC of policing, okay? ABC of policing, every police officer goes through this. Accept nothing, believe nothing, and check everything. That is the ABC of policing. And if you put that into your own lives, you will stop yourselves getting defrauded very, very quickly. One last little thing. How are we doing for time?
Yeah.
Okay, I still go? Okay, right. Yeah. I can speak for ages, okay?
As long as Carol doesn't mind waiting a bit longer.
The other thing is here is when you go online, you, on the keyboard and the computer, the only thing in between you and anything else is going to be your password normally, isn't it? So you go onto that and you think of a password. The password you choose then is most likely going to be a password that then you keep on using time and time again. Yeah, we're human. That's what's going to happen. But you've got to look at it. If you use that password and you use it for your bank and you use it for eBay and you use it for PayPal and lots of other things, if I get hold of one of your accounts and your email address and your password, I can now start to use that for loads of other things. What happens at the moment we're finding is that people's passwords are getting known because we're getting hacks. Yeah, people do hack into things. Who knows about the TalkTalk hack? All heard about the TalkTalk hack? Massive, massive hack. Where did the person who perpetrated those hacks come from? China? Sorry? India? Llanelli. Yeah, Daniel Kelly is currently awaiting sentence at the moment. Yeah, so we've actually visited him, we've gone through his computers, everything else. However, we've looked at what he actually had, and he had the whole of the TalkTalk database. So therefore, if you're a TalkTalk customer, I've been a TalkTalk customer in the past, my details will have been on there. So if my password is known for that, and that list is sold elsewhere, and I haven't changed my password on a regular basis, or I don't have different passwords for other things, whoever's buying that list now has my email address and my password. It doesn't bother me they've got my email address. I can block them with my email address and all sorts of stuff. If they've got my password and it's the same one that I use for PayPal, the first thing that happens is they'll go on to PayPal. They'll go on as Gareth. They'll go on at garethjordan@gmail.com, and with my password, which could be password 1234, which I would not recommend because that is the most popular password in the world. They'll change that to a different password. They'll then go onto eBay as me, and they'll try and sell lots and lots of things, very, very cheap price. Once they've sold those things at a cheap price, they start getting the money coming in. Yeah, that money goes into my PayPal account. However, I now start getting complaints from eBay because things aren't being delivered. So I'm now getting the complaints. The person who's defrauding me is getting all that money in that PayPal account because they've changed where that PayPal account gets paid to. I go onto the PayPal account, I can't get on all of a sudden because of the fact that they've changed the password. I can't get onto eBay anymore because they've changed the password. I have got a whole heap of trouble at this stage because of the fact I didn't change my password. Those are the reasons why I think sometimes you see things on TV and it says, always make sure you've got a strong password, a secure password. Speaking to some lady earlier on that she said she does her passwords in Welsh. What a brilliant idea. Yeah? You are far less likely going to get your passwords hacked if it's in Welsh. Think of something simple, some sort of mnemonic to actually think of a password. Think of it in terms of actual names, with maybe the first letter being a number, or even if you use a 0 as an O, and right the other way. There's lots of different ways, and we can talk to you more about that sort of stuff. There's also things called password managers that are out there as well, and we can talk to you about that more on the table when we're up at the Glass House. But if I had to say one thing in terms of keeping yourself safe online, passwords are one of the main things. If they can't get your password, they can't get your identity. If they can't get your identity, they can't scam you. If you get an email and you get a link to it, a lot of time Amazon, could be HMRC, Revenue and Customs, and it suddenly says they owe you money. Yeah? Who here's had free money before? Has anyone ever walked up to you and said, here you are, here's 10 quid, here's 100 quid, here's 200 quid? Yeah? No, it doesn't happen, does it? Not unless you're actually the grandson or the son of someone here, maybe, and then basically you're on the gravy train. But without you clicking on the link, they can't do anything. But clicking on the link is what does it. If you get something from the Inland Revenue, they will make sure that you get it as a letter, as a proper letter. If you need to go to their website, do not click on a link in an email. Type out the whole address in your browser. That's because I can create an email to any of you here today, and it would look exactly like it's from Lloyds Bank. It would look exactly like it's from NatWest. And I can hide in there little things in there that you can click on that says, here, go to NatWest Bank, and it will then go to a completely false site. Trinity, St David's, Carmarthen, Swansea, Portsmouth, Exeter universities have all just fallen to a massive scam where the lecturers were all emailed, please update your current bank details, make sure they're correct, click on this link. They've clicked on that link, they've gone into the site, what they thought was the site, they put in their email, they put their password in, and then they've been reflected straight back to the proper site. What's happened when they've gone to that first site is their email address and password has been collected. They go into their proper site now, yep, everything's fine. A day later, someone else has gone on, they know their email address and password, and they've then changed the bank account details. So when it comes to payday, where's their money going? Not to where it should go. And this is the problem. So just by clicking on that link, those people have lost out on a month's pay. That's how easy it is. Clicking on a link, putting in some details without looking where it's going to. It's a bit like getting in your car and thinking, I'll just reverse this without looking in the mirror. I feel lucky. Yeah? There wasn't a car there yesterday, maybe there's not one there today. You're not going to do it. So the same thing with internet safety, don't do it without looking. Don't click on that link. Don't give your passwords away. And if someone phones you up and says they owe you money, yeah, great. Yeah. However, you have to make sure they are the proper person. And if it's going to be a company or an institution that owes you money, they will continue to try and give you that money back because they have to. You know, the government will give it back to you in your bank account normally anyway. If there's one thing you need to remember from today then, passwords, secure. Email, don't click on the link. Dating applications, go for it. Yeah, there's a whole world out there, but be careful. That's what I would say. Don't take your clothes off in front of the camera. Yeah, and not everybody is who they say they are on the internet. Those are some of the very, very small bits of advice I can give you today in the small time we've got, but there's loads and loads more stuff. We do have some leaflets up there as well in terms of actually avoiding cyber scams. We do have some bits in terms of other areas that you can actually sort of protect yourself on. And if you've got stuff that you want to talk to me about or ask me about, I'll be up at the Glass House as well that I can speak to you. I will now hand over to my esteemed colleague, Paul Callard, who's in the financial crime team. And thank you very much indeed for listening.
He's the geek, I'm not. I work in fraud and financial crime and manage the fraud investigators and financial crime team for Dyfed Powys Police. And when I came into the job, my mind was that we can arrest our way out of this situation. 47% of all crimes that occur in the United Kingdom are fraud. 47%. We can't arrest our way out of this situation. You can't hear. You can't hear me. Oh, well, that's better. Oh. I feel like David Essex. I was just saying that 47% of all crime in this country is fraud. We cannot arrest our way out of this situation. We have got to educate everybody so that it stops happening. That's the only way we can do it. The people committing it, as Gareth was saying earlier, come from Russia, Israel, China, India, the United States, Brazil, Wales, England, Scotland, everywhere. You name it, they're doing it. And they're doing it because you've got money and they want your money. So, does anyone phone you with a genuine intention? No. So why don't we put the phone down? Why do we get caught up in this conversation with these people? I don't understand it. Put the phone down. Speak Welsh to them, they'll soon put the phone down. It's actually a good tip. Someone said it at the Penn show to me. I always answer in Welsh. And I thought, I'm not a Welsh speaker, so it never crossed my mind that that's probably the best thing you can do. When you get emails, as Gareth was saying, delete them. Don't pay any attention to them. But I am beginning to be repetitive on what Gareth's saying because we're both quite passionate about it. But the one thing I want to tell you about today is an initiative that's starting on Monday. It's called the Banking Protocol. It's a national initiative, but Dyfed Powys Police are really keen to see it take off. And it's such a simple initiative. All banks, building society and post office staff across Dyfed Powys policing area have been trained, as have all police officers, PCSOs and support staff within the police. And we're beginning to recruit other agencies such as Trading Standards, and today I was talking to Age Cymru. The idea being that if Mrs Jones walks into Lloyd's Bank in Carmarthen and says, I'd like to withdraw £15,000 in cash please, the bank staff will think, well that's completely out of the ordinary, why are you doing that? And they've been trained to ask questions of Mrs Jones. If they're not satisfied with the answers Mrs Jones is giving, they'll bring the manager or their supervisor in and they'll speak to Mrs Jones. If they're not satisfied with what Mrs Jones is saying, they're going to call the police. And the police will come to start the process of providing support to Mrs Jones. It may be that sitting in a van outside is a gentleman who's just cut her hedge and wants £15,000 for doing it. The police will deal with that as a fraud. Or Trading Standards will get involved in an investigation of some sort. The initiative started in a couple of English forces, and since November and today, they've stopped £3 million going over the counter. People are being targeted on a daily basis. I can tell you of people in Wales, in Dyfed Powys, one particular gentleman I'm thinking of, who recently realised that he had sent £650,000 abroad thinking he was investing in wine, arts and other carbon credits. They're false. Please just remember it's false and stop doing it. Because no one phones you and says, would you like to invest in wine? I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.